This is an Airbnb nightmare. Let's check it out.
In Brentwood's hillside sits a community eye level with the Getty Center, whose neighbors include LeBron James and Fergie. But the resident everyone seems to be talking about lives here for free.
My husband yesterday was outside and some guy comes by and goes, "You know you're living next door to a squatter?"
A periodontist named Alexander or Sasha Jovanovic bought this house in 1995. Through the years, he's remodeled it, and in 2019 decided to rent the guest house out on Airbnb. That's how his and Elizabeth Hirshhorn's paths crossed. She was looking for a place to stay for 6 months, reached out, and ended up here. That was 2 years ago. Repairs the guest house needed 4 months in caused the initial animosity, which led Jovanovic to extend the tenant stay beyond her Airbnb reservation. Hirshhorn stopped paying in April 2022, according to court documents. Hirshhorn's attorney told the LA Times Jovanovic has harassed her. She's suing for intentional infliction of emotional distress, among other things. Jovanovic just wants her gone, and the nearly $60,000 in owed rent paid.
The first thing I'd like to share is this is most common in long-term rentals. That's the first thing I want to just share because I get this question all the time. Jorge, what are you going to do if you get squatters at your Airbnb? This is legit a really challenging and difficult situation that the owner is now dealing with. But again, this is not common in short-term rentals. You hear about this every once in a while, but 9 out of 10, that's just my guess based on doing Airbnbs for almost 7 years. 9 out of 10 situations like this have to do with long-term rentals, not with short-term rentals. But now, let's go into the actual story. So she checked into a luxury Airbnb, then refused to pay or leave. It's been 540 days. She says she has the legal right to stay. And one of the things with rent control properties in the city of Los Angeles, again, this mainly applies to the city of LA and rent control areas. Once a tenant has been there for 6 months or more, now they are entitled and have certain tenant benefits that you don't have when you stay there for less than 6 months. Now, one of the mistakes that this owner made is that they're not even supposed to be Airbnb-ing this property. The second mistake is that they took the booking off of the platform. So Airbnb is really not even involved as a company. The landlord made a lease agreement directly with the tenant. And I also don't recommend that because if Airbnb brings you a client and you take them off the platform and work directly with them, you're basically cutting out Airbnb as a middleman, and now they are not making their 3% that they charge the host and the 14% that they charge the guest. So they missed out on 17% of revenue, thousands of dollars over a 6-month period. And in situations like this, I've heard that Airbnb has completely shut down the account of hosts because you are violating their policy. I mean, think about it. If you brought somebody else's business and they cut you out as the middleman, you would be upset too because that's how Airbnb makes your money. So I do not recommend having bookings off of the platform unless you acquired that tenant through your own marketing. But again, if they came through Airbnb, make sure the bookings go through Airbnb. It's just not worth it. This isn't about one ruling, it's about the entire foundation. If Hirshhorn is right, you can rent an Airbnb for 2 days and refuse to leave on the third unless the landlord pays you to leave. When Elizabeth Hirshhorn Airbnb stay at a luxury Brentwood guest house, okay, so it's in Brentwood near UCLA, ended in April 2022, she simply didn't move out. She's been living there rent-free ever since, and she refuses to budge unless the owner, Sasha Jovanovic, paid her a relocation fee of $100,000. Yeah, this is a challenge with places like the city of LA. Not only is there challenging regulation with short-term rentals, but the whole rent control and everything is always in favor of the tenant, not for landlords and not for businesses. My thought is this person intentionally structured this, game plan, knowing the law or knowing somebody that knew the law just to try to get some money out. Unfortunate. Jovanovic is trying to sue Hirshhorn with 2 cases, a damage complaint to recoup around $58,000 in unpaid rent and an unlawful detainer complaint to evict her. Meanwhile, Hirshhorn has filed her own complaint against Jovanovic, accusing him of litany of violations, including negligence, unlawful business practices, and violation of LA County COVID tenant protections. Jovanovic's guest house, pictured on the left, is not permitted to be a short-term rental unit. Since the unit still hasn't approved for occupancy, Hirshhorn, who declined to be interviewed for this story, has argued in a lawsuit that she shouldn't pay rent and that she is owed all the rent she paid during her original stay, so she stopped paying. It looks like the owner potentially got this unit built and never got the occupancy permit, like the actual final permit to start renting it out. So it's technically an illegal unit, and that's why the tenant is suing the owner for negligence, because maybe it's not up to code, things of that sort. Because she stayed in the unit for 6 months, Hirshhorn qualified for LA's new Just Cause ordinance. It requires a landlord to have a legal reason to evict her or to pay for relocation assistance. A city investigator also concluded that the unit is subject to LA's rent stabilization ordinance, giving Hirshhorn much stronger tenant protections. So a couple things, guys. You should only be renting out units that you have a permit to rent out. That's the first thing. Do not rent out anything that shouldn't be rented out, whether it's to a long-term tenant, mid-term, short-term. Always make sure you are in compliance with the laws and regulation. Make sure you have your certificate of occupancy giving you permission to rent out the unit. That is the very first thing, which sounds like the owner didn't even have that. The second thing, only launch short-term rentals in cities where you can actually get a permit. Number 3, never take the guests off of the platform and book directly when they came initially through Airbnb, because again, Airbnb will shut you down. With that being said, I would love to hear what you guys think about this situation. Please comment down below. Make sure you guys also check out the links in the description down below where you guys can schedule a call with my team and see if we are a good fit to work with each other if you are looking at starting your Airbnb with or without buying property. Click on the links, message me on IG, and I'll see you on the next one.